Okay, everybody. It's 9 o'clock Central European time, and welcome everybody. My name is Dagfinn. I'm happy to be one of the co-hosts for this session that we have invited you all to participate in. And it is a need for this kind of session, and it will not be the last one either, because we have now the opportunity to ask questions and get answers from Mr. Rino Solberg here and from Better Globe Forestry, and also Jakob from Tree Partner Solutions. And me, myself, I'm only one of you. I'm an ambassador in Better Globe and have been since 2006, actually. And I have been working very hard with Better Globe for many, many years. But I have also been quite quiet in approximately 2 years around the COVID time, and also the difficult time that we have been through, when some of us didn't know what happened in Better Globe and what is the big change. But now we know more, and now we know actually almost everything. So now we are using a lot of time and energy to help people to convert their trees into shares, and also, of course, understand the new business model that we are moving from the tree certificates over to receiving shares in the new company. And the new company, Tree Partner Solutions, we are the 100% shares owner of that company. And I think when you have all ask your questions and hear the answers, and then I think you will agree with me that this is the absolutely best solution, and the best option for the longevity of this concept that we actually have been promoting now for 18 years. We started in 2006, and we are still here running Zooms and talking to people about buying donation pack and sponsor pack, and we have still the same concept. Of course, we are reducing corruption and poverty in Africa. So the mission and the vision of Better Globe is still the same. And the donation pack is almost the same. We now call it a sponsor pack. Instead of that, we say that you buy trees. We call it sponsor pack now. And the sponsor pack or a donation pack will give you a certain amount of shares. But we help the poor families. We have thousands of partner farmers. We are doing very good in agroforestry, and the results and everything that we do is fantastic, actually. So talking about Better Globe today, compared to talking about Better Globe when I started in 2006 and 7 and 8, that is a big difference. Today we have all the historic to look back on, and also a much more security in what we are selling. So we have a value. We have a value of the company now that we have put value on each share, and you will hear more about this now. So for me, I think we are in a brilliant situation, and I hope that all of you understand this and continue to buy sponsor packs and donation packs. This is the only way for you to get more shares before the introduction of the what you call it, oh my God, I lost the word, before we go public. So that is the only way to get shares in this company, and it's the only way also to support Better Globe Forestry for the very important job they are doing as we speak, to take care of all the 3 million trees that are planted, to take care of all the 15, 20,000, more than 20,000 partner farmers that is operating. So we want, of course, you to buy more trees, to buy donation packs still, and sponsor packs. So please do that and never stop with that. Let's see now. I will give the word to Mr. Jakob Sarterius from Tree Partner Solution, and he will make a short speech. And after that, we have received a number of questions that I will read, and Rino and Jakob will answer them. And when that part is finished, we will give you the opportunity to unmute yourself after raising your hand and ask your question directly. And please take the opportunity to do so. So, Jakob, the microphone is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dr. So my name is Jacob Saturnus. I'm one of the four co-founders of Tree Partner Solutions, and I'm acting as the chairman of the board. My other co-founders is our CFO, Isabel, our market and investor relation person, Alina Lundberg, and our CEO, Rickard Isaksson. So I've been looking forward quite a lot to this Q&A, because it's the first time I can speak more publicly about our market plan for TPS. Before, we have just told you about the process of bringing all the tree certificate into TPS, the company, and starting TPS. But today, I can announce what are we going to do in the forthcoming, and how are we going to make the finance market our customer. Because of the TPS are having today 6,011 shareholders, in 1 week 6,500 something. We are a public company in Sweden, and that means we have a lot of different regulation that we have to buy from, and therefore if I have information that are public can influence the market, I have to announce them to everyone at the same time, and therefore we have started this FAQ, frequently asked questions, on Tree Partner Solutions homepage, and because we have announced our market strategy there, I now can tell you that in this meeting. So actually, we have got a lot of questions to both Better Globe and to TPS about how are TPS or Tree Partner Solutions financing their company. Is it by and how will it be in the forthcoming? Is it by loans? How big are the loans? Is it by emissions, or how are they doing this? When you're developing a company, you can bring in capital through three main ways. The most important one is to create a product and sales. That's the main purpose with a company, to have sales, to get revenue. And if you get revenue, you can have a healthy growth of a company, and you can also get and give dividends to your shareholders. So that comes from selling. I will talk later on how we are going to manage this, but this is what we are going to do during 2024 and 2025. The other way to get finance to a company is through issuance by shares. When you're issuing a share in Sweden, you can bring in capital through three ways. The first one way is through your issuing assets. That's what we done during 2023. We brought in an asset from everyone together with from Better Globe when we brought in all the values from the trees. So we brought in an asset. The other way is to to shift loans to shares. And the third way is to bring in new capital. So the way we brought in capital to the company last year was through an asset. And this asset, we could now start to make products and from and sell. And the third way to bring in capital to a company to develop it is by loans. By the beginning of 2024, TPS didn't have any loans at all. All finance at this moment has been through us as founders and so on. We had worked for free and bought in capital. So we didn't have any loans to the company TPS. But what we are doing now is we're actually starting to bring in loans to the company, and that's because we want to develop the company with starting to build a market strategy and have a product to the finance capital. So during this spring and later on, we're going to bring in loans to the company. It won't be that much loan, quite low loans in comparison to the net worth, but some loans, and we will in first way go and ask our shareholders for loans instead of banks and so on. Why are we doing that? Well, to develop a product, it takes a bit of capital, and what we own today that we want to sell is actually, we say that we want to make the finance market our customer. We haven't said that we want to make them our shareholders. We want to make them our customer, and that's a big difference, because if we make them our customer, it's our shareholders, everyone in this room, I presume, that get the revenues and the dividends from that customer. So that's our purpose. And what do we own and what can we do and sell to the finance market? Well, the finance market, they want to invest in green investment. They want to invest in social responsibility. And today we own assets for, at the end of 2023, we had an asset of 120 million euros. This asset, now TPS will make what we call securities, what we call securities to sell to the finance market. Because the finance market, they want to invest in, for example, forests that's already there. They don't want to accept that much in promising in the future. And if we take the already existing trees, we can take some of those, we can sell them, and when we get revenue from that, we can plant even more trees. So from part of the net worth that we have today, we will create securities that we will sell to the finance market. When we sell it, we bring in money to plant more trees and to give dividends to our shareholders. And those securities, we have obligations. Those obligations is, for example, that we have a management where we get the management fee every year until we want to harvest the trees. And in the end, when we are harvesting the trees, TPS will get a share profit from those securities. So this will mean that we actually get a little bit less income from each tree, but because we get money much earlier, we can plant even more trees that will give even more income. And this also make a big difference, because if we're a forestry company that yet owns forests that we will harvest in a couple of years and make products from, we actually don't have any difference from any other forestry company, except from having a more sustainable forestry. But if we make this shift together with keeping the old market strategy also, we actually become a financing company of sustainable forestry. And that's what the world and the finance market needs. So this both make that TPS will solve the solution that the world needs, together with creating an earlier dividend to the shareholders, and be able to plant even more trees. If you compare it to the old business model, it's like if I plant a tree today in Uganda, I can sell it in 15 years, and then I can get dividends, or I get the dividend the 16th year. If I instead plant a tree today, and after 2 to 3 years, I sell it as a security to the finance market, I can get enough money to plant 2 trees and get dividends to my shareholders. If I make that for 15 years, I plant actually 30 trees instead of 1. So that becomes more profitable both for the society, the environment, and the shareholders. So that's our purpose with developing the business model. I presume you have a couple of questions about this later on, and I think if you have those, just ask them, and I try to be as accurate I can. So that's actually our business model. So where are we at this moment? Well, today we have almost ended the first issuing. We actually had to take a break from this issuing work for a couple of months, or not a total break, but almost, to be able to start with this business model, because we have a couple of customers in the future that wants to buy this product, and we had to talk to them and develop the product together with them to be able to sell it to them in late 2024 or during 2025, because the business, when you make business with the finance market, it takes a little bit longer time, because it's more investigations and so on that need, and more proof of concepts that needs to be able to do that. Our hope is to get revenue in the company late 2024, or at least in 2025, to be able to give dividends 2026. So that's our hope. If we and the only way to do that is through this business model as we see it. If we just having the business model of being a forestry company, then we have forests that we are able to cut down 2027 very few trees, and more trees, a lot of more trees in 2032. And if we sell trees from 2032, then it would be dividend 33 at the earliest time. So this is actually to because we had several shareholders that will appreciate earlier dividend. So that's one of the reasons for the new business model. So where are we at this stage? Well, we have almost ended the last issuing. We have actually registered the last 500 this last week. We had 6,011 shareholders today, 500 more in 1 or 2 weeks when the registration have gone through. And we have, after that, we have 65 persons left. Those 65, some of those we have to send a new agreement and so on, but all of those 65 will get their 10 shares from each tree or tree certificate. We won't forget you, and you will get those, but it will take a little bit more time because there's some discrepancy with the agreements and so on. We have to look on the next conversion. So this week we asked Better Globe to give us Better Globe for the data from the sellings until the last of December last year. So we haven't asked about that earlier because we haven't been in phase to do that yet, but now we are. So we asked them from the data, and now we've got the data. So we're actually working today with looking at the data and preparing it to be able to send out contracts for next conversion. I think we are finished with all the processes and so on in a couple of weeks. Then we will send out signature packages to everyone that were pre-registered until the last of December 2023 for all sponsor packages and old certificates that you have pre-registered. This process will be a little bit more easy for those who already are existing shareholders. This time we ask 2 or 3 questions about your KYC. We don't need new identification, passports and so on. We have to bring that in for new shareholders. But I think it would be a little bit easier. We have also made some, it's easier for us to follow up and so on, and we brought in some new team members to help us with all the process so that it will be easier and faster. So I think it will be much easier and faster this time because we actually want to make a new conversion later this year too. Yeah, I think I'll stop there. I know that Dogfin has a lot of questions from your guys since before, and I think it's better if we take those questions first, and if there are some new questions also.
Yes, let's do that, and I read them the way they were sent in, so kind of, but I don't read those you have answered already. But let's start with the first one, and it's going to be Rino and you, Jakob, that will answer it. The financial advantages for buyer are repeatedly pointed out. Is it correct that TPS and BG also depend on these funds in order to maintain business operations and not become illiquid?
Yeah. Oh, I can start with that. Well, for TPS, of course, it's beneficial for more sales because that becomes more trees into the public company and some revenue. But we manage without them because we work with those with the new business model. We think that our business model will be ready and we will be having revenues from this at the end of this year, maybe earlier, but in the end of this year and in 2025. And the other way is by, as I told you before, by lending from some of the shareholders. Every shareholders will get an. We will ask everyone to be the same to everyone. We have this principle in the company that we have to. But for us, it's not. We will manage.
Yes, good. And Rino, you will also answer. I can add something before you answer, Rino, and that is, and what will happen if no further funds were injected in from outside this next year? Will that threaten our business, our existence in our business?
Well, I can answer that. Better Globe Forestry has some assets that we are now liquidating, and that is roughly 1.5 million euro. And that is to secure that we can do the things we're supposed to do and do it even better in the years to come. So we will continue with that. And we also have a lot of, we have signed a contract now with UNESCO already, as you probably have seen. And that is for 2 million euros over 5 years. And we have other big companies also ready to join us to plant trees and do different things. So we are looking at a better way of doing the things in the years to come. And we will have more funds from other companies than Better Globe AS and TPS to run the business. So that will benefit everybody. The more people we have, the more job we can do, the better it is for everybody.
Yes, thank you. How do I gain insight login to see the value and trade with my shares? I have received a lot of mail from Sweden about logging in Norwegian ID, bank ID, and this doesn't work for us. How?
Okay, it's a couple of questions. The first one is the value of a share. TPS, what do you call it? Not homepage, the site on the web, the homepage. Website, thank you. We have this investor relation part where we tell everyone about the net worth of a share. So we update the net worth of a share every third month about. We also there is the net worth of a share is not the same as the market price of a share. The market price is what anyone wants to buy it for. So it can depend. If you, for example, when we go to the stock market, we can both get you can both sell the share for sometimes much more than the net worth, and sometimes half the net worth. It's the market that decides, and that's the same now. If someone wants to sell a share and someone wants to buy a share, it's both parts that are deciding what do they want to pay. But to help everyone to decide what's the right price, TPS tells you what the net worth of every share in the company. This is calculated. I actually got the new net worth, and it's raising every quarter because the trees are raising. So then the net worth is raising. The other thing is how to see the share holdings. If you are a company that owns the shares outside Sweden, you actually can't see the share in our digital share ledger. We have a digital share ledger on a company that's called NBR. But then when you get the shares, we will send them. We will send a copy of the share ledger through a PDF file, and we will send this to you every year, so you know what you have. This is TPS is actually one of the biggest clients to this company. It's not that common in Sweden with public company that's not on the stock market yet, that has so many shareholders that the TPS has. So they are during this spring developing quite a lot on this in this company, and especially in the logging part. Private persons that owns the share, they can see it through this website. Some call it NBR, some call it VP stud. It will be the same. It will be the same web page later on this year because they are shifting. But if you have trouble seeing your share, you have to. I talked to them today. You have to look that you have registered registered on their page with the same email address that you got the mail from them to. So we have registered one mail address for your share. This mail address will send you an invitation from NVR, and you have to register an account at NVR with the same email address. Then you should be able to see your share in their website. So I think I'll answer the question there.
Yes, thank you. Okay, next, I have many referrals whom I gifted a tree or two, maybe a long time ago. What will happen to those accounts for the customers that doesn't bother to log in and check or take care of their values? Well, what will happen to those accounts?
Okay. When we started TPS, we looked at this because we had to solve a couple of different things, and those persons, if they want shares in the future, they can tell that to Better Globe or to TPS, and then we will help them to shift those to shares. So the opportunity to shift from old certificates to shares will always be there, as long as you can become a shareholder in Sweden. The other part is that because that's a certificate with a certain value that are the same or actually decreasing in value every year because of the inflation, you will get less and less shares for every year because the certificate decreases in value for inflation and the trees are growing bigger and the value of the trees increase instead. So therefore, if you want to shift your certificate later on, you will get fewer shares per certificate, but there will always be a possibility to do that. I think that's what the question.
Yes. And next, what will be the extra cost to shareholders if we insure the tree farms?
Yeah, I can answer that one because that was the first question I ever asked before we started to sell one tree. I was working on South African companies and English companies to try to find out how we could insure the trees. But that was impossible to get a correct answer, and the estimations we got was it will cost more to insure the tree than it really that we really paid for it. And if anything went wrong with the trees, the money we get out will be much less than the value of the tree. So if we scrap that idea right away, and not only that, but in 20 years we have mitigated every risk that has been on the trees. We know we are mitigating everything, so not much will happen to the trees except catastrophes. Of course, we have things that the farmers can chop down the trees and all kind of things. But what we have decided already years ago, that is to mitigate all these problems by planting more trees than we sold. And now this year we are getting there and starting to plant trees for ourselves. So we will always have trees. But there's always a risk when you invest in trees, and we have to take that into consideration. However, like I said, we are not having a farm with all the trees in one place. We have them spread out on 25,000 farmers close to now, I think, and it'll be more in the years to come. So that is very little risk for them to burn down. It might be a couple of trees that will burn down, but not all of them. So we will always mitigate it, so work as we can. So the risk is normal for any tree company, and that is the same with us.
Yeah, and from TPS point of view, it's I could say almost the same as Reno. It's one part of a risk in investing in tree planting and in investing in Africa. We actually expect some trees to failure, that's part of investing. But I would say the biggest we're not looking at insurance company. We feel that the biggest insurance TPS can make is actually to make Better Globe Forestry a profitable company and to help them with different things so they can create communities and different things together with the farmers, because that's the actual security to our trees. And I also think that different kind of third-party controls are another security, because we have Better Globe Forestry as a companion, and if we have, for example, FSC that are Better Globe Forestry are bringing into the company, that's a certification that are having an outsider third-party control of the company, and that's also one kind of insurance for TPS. So I think those things is more important and cheaper than bringing in an insurance company.
Yes, good. Will there be any more chances to convert trees to shares?
Yes, as I told before, everyone that have certificates in any kind of form, either the old tree certificate or the new one that's called sponsorship package, they will always be able to shift those to shares in TPS. We will try to make. We will have now one big conversion and also later on, but even if we should stop with those because we don't see any purpose with that or something, you will always be able to contact TPS to shift from certificate to share. This conversion that we will, I hope we will start in a couple of weeks, will offer 8 shares to 1 certificate. For a TPS, it doesn't matter if it's a sponsorship package or an old certificate. The only thing is that it has to be bought before the last of December 2023 and pre-registered before the last of December 2023. We actually have, when we got the data from Better Globe, we actually have some customers to Better Globe that bought the sponsorship package during 2023 that haven't pre-registered the old certificate, and we have to follow all the regulations. So that means that we now will give them an opportunity to ship the sponsorship package through to 8 shares, but they have to pre-register the old certificate to be able to get an offer of those, and that will not happen this term. It will be the next conversion.
Okay. What will happen for those who have some technical difficulties in signing? You answered that in Norwegian, or the first session we had this evening. You can answer this one to Jakob.
Yeah, well, if they have difficulties this time, because we are bringing some loan, we have been able to bringing more help with this conversion. So if you just contact TPS, there will be a mail address in the signature package when you get it. If you can't open that and you can't see that, you can turn to investor relation for TPS. And if it's a technical problem that makes you not able to make the conversion in time, we will look at each person differently. So if we can see everything that happens, if everyone who opens the link and how long they go in the process and so on, and if we see that, oh, this person haven't been able to open anything or something, we will help them to get 8 shares in this conversion. And if we see that, well, they have opened it and done things, but they haven't yet signed it, well, then they have to wait until next time.
Yes, okay, thank you. And then the question about report the income or the tax return for 2023.
Okay, so I want to be perfectly clear that TPS ain't giving any tax advice, declaration advice to our shareholders, but our opinion and the opinion from the auditors and so on that have contacted us about the first conversion, they tell us that they see that you bought the certificate in the beginning, and then you just convert the certificate until a share. When you use the first value that you bought it for as the buying, the cost of buying the share, and you just report it when you sell the share. So in Sweden, we don't have any taxes of owning things. We just have taxes when you sell things and you get the revenue. So therefore, in Sweden, their opinion is that it shouldn't be declared with taxes during 2023. But if you have other opinions, your bookkeeper have another opinion, and you want to make some declaration about this, you can always get the value of a share at the conversion time in the agreement that you signed. So when you signed the agreement, you got it back to you, and there you can see the value of a share when you bought it. The value then was, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was about 16 Swedish crowns or something like that.
Yes. Okay, the next one I can answer. I would like to know where I can see how many years I have been investing in Better Globe. Yeah, that is very easy. You log into your Better Globe account with your customer ID number and your password. If you have any problem with that, contact support. But when you log in, you just go to purchase history, and you can see all your purchases from the very first one. And you can even click on the numbers, and you can print out a receipt for all the purchases that you have made in Better Globe. So that is safely stored in your back office. Next, are my shares having dividends? I would like to know how to access that information and learn how to withdraw.
Yes, dividends comes from revenue in a company. Today, TPS haven't any revenue. As I told you before, the revenue comes when we are starting the new business model, or we are felling the tree and develop them. So our hope is to be able to give dividends in 2026 instead of later on from the felling of the tree. So that's the first question. The other question is, if you want to, if I interpret it right, if you want to sell your shares, you can go to the website of TPS in investor relation at the same place where we announce the net worth of every share. And that's also a checklist on how to do if you want to sell your shares or buy shares. Before we get public, well, we are public, but before we get publicly in a stock exchange, you actually have to find your own buyer. So you have to find your own buyer today. I think the easiest way is to contact our shareholders in TPS. And when you have decided the price, you fill in this form that we have on our website. You send it to TPS. TPS checks it, and as long as we can accept the new buyer, but we have no intention not to do, as long as they can be a shareholder in Sweden, we will send you signature packages. You will just sign them as buyer and seller, and then you sold your share. This will be registered in about 2 weeks after the transaction.
Yes, thank you. Let me see here on the question. Where can you find information about values that must be declared to the tax authorities? I think you answered that, Jakob.
Yeah.
In the treepartnersolutions.com website. Reno, in the past, we have not been able to withdraw money from our account if it is below a certain amount. What is the status now?
The status now is the same. We are not allowed to send. If we started to do that, then the bank will close our account right away. So the banks are getting even worse than when we started up some years ago with TPS. It's even worse today. Last year we had, in fact, the biggest bank in Sweden. They suddenly said that they could not send money to Uganda anymore. So Child Africa, which my wife is running, as you know, that was a problem because we had that bank for many years and send money every year, every month. But then we had to stop it. So because it was too much corruption in Uganda. So for that, they couldn't send any amount at all. So we had to find a new bank. So this is going on all the time. But whatever money you have on the account, you can still buy trees for them, which will be transferred into shares. So through the buying of the sponsor packages. So I would suggest that if you have any money on the account, please take the money now while you can get the best price for the shares and the trees, and buy trees for them or sponsor packages. That's my advice.
Okay, I could deliberate in that because that for me that raises some other questions. For TPS, it's actually easier to deliver money from when we get dividends, because dividends is another kind of payment. It will have some challenges, and it will be easier for TPS to give out money through dividends when you get the custodial account. Because when we go to the one of the steps towards the stock markets is for everyone to shift their shares from the share ledger to a custodial account, and that's one part of going to the stock market, and that's also making it easier to pay out the dividends from TPS. We will manage that anyway, but that will make it much easier. Another thing is all those bank regulations. That's one of the main things that TPS works with, and that's also one of the main reasons that we want to shift. Making this shift in business model, because when we do this, we actually have a business model where we work in Scandinavia. We have a financing company in Scandinavia, and we're selling securities from Scandinavia. And that becomes more easy for regulations and banks to handle. So that's easier for us with the bank transferring. So then our shareholders won't be depending in that way of the problems with sending money to Uganda and Kenya and so on. We will handle that, of course, too, but it won't affect the shareholders in the same way.
Yes, and then next one, when will TPS be listed on the stock exchange?
Well, we want to be listed in 2027. That's our goal, but there's a lot of different steps towards that. There's quite a lot of regulation, we hope to be listed at 2027. But if the market doesn't, it depends on how the market is at that time, what the shareholders want at that time. So we will ask our shareholders that question when we come there. If they feel it's not the right time, we won't go there then, maybe another year. But our hope when we are preparing everything towards 2027.
Yes. And another part of that question, I think you already have answered about how to withdraw money and send money. That will be more easy for a public company on the stock exchange, as you explained. What happens now, that I think is also explained. How will we get dividends in the future? I think you have explained that as well. Yes, let me see, 16. In previous meetings and in the Facebook group, I have noticed that people seem to be concerned that they will somehow be forced to pay more if TPS is short of money.
Well, not forced. As I told you before, there's three ways in getting money to a company. It's sales, it's share emissions, and it's by loans. Now we are starting with our sales. We are bringing in loans from people that wants to lend the money to the company. And the last thing is by issuing shares. Actually, as I told the Swedish people, if we would try to get the finance market to buy shares in TPS today, it would actually mean that they wouldn't pay that much for the shares as if we brought them in today. So that wouldn't be a good business for our shareholders today. Therefore, we want to do that today. If we bring in money that way, we will go to the shareholders. But even if we went to the shareholders, it's actually like this. You don't have to pay. You don't have to buy new shares in that case. It will be. You're not obligated to do this, but it will affect. So it doesn't matter if we are bringing in more, issuing and bringing more shares to the company. It will thin out the shareholders in some kind of way, but if you don't want that, well, then you buy shares. If you don't care, you don't buy shares, so you don't have to pay. So there's no obligation of that just because you are a shareholder. I haven't talked about this in English. I don't know if you have to ask questions if if I didn't make me understood.
Okay, let's hear. Camilla, do you have any questions? Can you read some of them that have come? Unmute, please.
Sorry. Yes. This question is for Mr. Reno. What kind of assets will Better Globe Forestry sell for securing 1.5 million euros?
I have already answered that one in writing to everybody.
Okay.
But yeah, I can tell you also orally, and that is, we have an office building that we built years ago in Uganda that we're going to sell. That is up for selling now, and we bought some shares in an IT company in America 5 years ago, and that has increased tremendously. So we are now selling those shares also to focus on the core business of planting trees.
Yes. Okay. There are a few questions here too. It seems to me that you have changed the business model because the revenue was not as high as was promoted when we bought our trees originally. How much less is the revenue per tree than originally estimated?
Well, the revenue per tree is not the issue here. The revenue per number of trees is the issue. when we plant get money for 500,000 trees a year, then it is easy to do a job. If we get twice as much money for half, we can do the same. But if we go down and even less to, let's say, for 100,000 and with a little bit more expenses or income, we still cannot do a job. So it's not related directly to tree, but also to the number of trees. So those two things together make it a big difference.
From TPS perspective, it's not when we start looking when we started to investigate to start TPS with I have worked with it for 2.5 years now. Actually, we saw that the value of the tree was about the old certificate was about between 30 to 50 or 30 to 60% of the value of a tree. So we saw that the tree had a bigger value. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the business model and the long term able to pay out. And so I would say in the long term, it won't be any, it probably would be better through dividend than through the old certificate. That's my point of view. But so why we changed the business model in TPS? Well, we had the opportunity to buy out the crowdfunding, all the crowdfunded trees. And then we as a company, as a public company in Sweden, we can develop another business model. So of course, we could have that opportunity because of the problems of bank regulations and so on. Else we couldn't do all this. But I would say that now when we've done it, we as shareholders actually have a bigger opportunity than before. So that's my point of view, and I think some of those questions coming from that, you have to understand that Tree Partner Solution in TPS, we are a whole different company than Better Globe or Better Globe Forestry. We are separate companies with separate purpose. Tree Partner Solutions owns the asset and wants to finance more tree planting in the future, and also wants to give big dividends to our shareholders as possible. But we are an own company. Better Globe AS is a sale company in Norway that sells a product that we bring into TPS because then we bring in more trees in the company. And Better Globe Forestry are a forestry business in Kenya and Uganda that manage our trees. So we have a collaboration between all the companies, and so I think it's important to understand the differences between what Better Globe and what TPS. And when you understand that, I would say you will understand why the business model have changed.
Okay, Mikalis, can you unmute and make your question?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi from Cyprus. Sweden, 12 points. Listen, I just have a few questions about the trip that you made in, well, first of all, thanks so much for all the hard work you've been doing over the last 2 years or so. And from what I understand, without being really paid for free. So thank you so much. Now my question about the trip has to do with the plantations. You mentioned that about 80% of our assets are in Uganda, especially in an area that you visited, this Dokolo, I think, if I remember well. So, but when we saw photos of the workers planting their vegetables, their potatoes, sweet potatoes or whatever. But it would have been better for us if we saw photos of the plantations to actually see a couple of million of trees being planted. You know, it's an area that is not so big, if I understand, and it's not so difficult to make photos. Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, I like the plants, you know. Don't get me wrong. I like vegetables, but I like more money to buy the vegetables. You understand?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's one question.
Okay. So why it's like that? Actually, the whole purpose of planting trees with farmers is to go get the social impact and the climate impact. And if we plant trees in plantation, but Globe Forestry have 2 plantations in Kenya. They have no plantations in Uganda. So if you plant, the plantations are very good of exploring how to work with the trees, how to developing the trees, and but the Globe Forestry have made huge development in how to plant trees through the plantation. But it's actually through planting with the farmers, whereas the big revenue and the big development is. But the hard thing about that is that every farmer just having 160 trees, and of those, it's just 80 of those trees that are TPS. Instead, we have thousands of farmers. So it's not that easy to get a lot of trees in the picture, because that's not how we plant the trees. And we don't want to plant the trees in plantation because that's not sustainable development. We want to plant the trees together with the farmers because that's more sustainable in several purposes. And that's also the way that actually the UN and the World Food Program and every organization wants us to plant the trees, and therefore the best way to plant trees to the finance market. So I understand that it in some purposes would be more beneficial to show many trees in the same place, but that's not the sustainable way of planting trees. So that's not the most profitable way to plant trees. We have those photos on TPS website. We have some photos behind the Dogfin and Reno too, from the plantation. I think those are from Kiambere plantation in Kenya. And also Leila have some photos behind her in back. So I think I will make you disappointed because we won't show that many pictures of those kind of trees, because that's not the business model of either Better Globe or TPS.
Okay. I actually probably used the wrong word by saying plantation. How big is Dogolo?
Okay. So Dokolo. I don't know actually how big Dokolo are, but we have. I think the Better Globe Forestry visited about 6,000 farmers last year. Maybe Reno can correct me in that way. I think that about 13,000 farmers that are contracted in Dockalo. So it's a quite big area. And that's a big development, because planting trees together with farmers, then you get you don't have to pay any leases or something. You have free way to plant tree.
Yeah, I know it was a clever move, this change of the let's say the model of working rather than plantations. It's just that when we started in Uganda was how many years ago?
It's roughly 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I can explain a little bit more also on what Jacob started to tell you about, because we started in Dockalo, the reason being that we are in the dry lands. And in Uganda, the dry land starts in Dockalo area, and then it goes north towards Karamoja, other northern places. So we started there, and then we'll go north. And there's unlimited space with farmers up there. So we can grow as much as we like as we're going north. So, but Dockalo is just a small city, and we call it Dockalo because the whole area started in that area. So it is not all in Dockalo; it's further on outside Dockalo and going north. So we will continue going north, and to the difference between the plantation and what we are doing. Yes, you're right, Michaelis. It's much better to do it this way. Everybody knows it. It's the right way, and like Jacob said, it is the only way to really plant huge numbers of trees. And not only that, but it is cheaper. It comes a lot of cost with having plantations. Plus the fact that I'm not going to go into details, but we have had court cases with all kind of people, and we still have in both the areas have plantations. So that has been a tough fight, which I don't want to have once more. So the only way actually to grow is by farmers the way we are doing today. We just have to get better and better at it, which we are now doing. In the last 2 years, we have spent a lot of time and money after the COVID or during the COVID, and after we have not planted too many trees compared to what we used to, but we have made systems in place, much more sophisticated system, which is easy to comply to all the standards and everything. We work with, like we said, the forestry certification stewardship. We are working on that. And the end of the whole thing would be that when we are I can't tell you exactly when, but we have done a lot of work on getting a drone to count the trees. So because it's a lot, Jacob can tell you how much work it is to try to go into the plantations and count the trees. That's a hell of a job. And that will have to stop in the years to come, because then we use drones. And when we have the drones and the numbers and the apps that we have done today, we can, by the click of a button, we can have all the numbers we want, and the correct numbers will always be there. So we are working on all these things, and we have done a great job. Jean-Paul has done a fantastic job there, and it is just the beginning, actually. So from a new way. So we call it a new Better Globe, both Norway and Better Globe Forestry. It's a new way of thinking, new way of doing, and it's definitely going to be better than it used to be. That's for sure. And that is all for not only securing the trees we have, but also planting new trees in an even better way, faster way and better way. So we are doing a great job there, and I'm very proud of the people we have there, what they have done so far. We just need now more money to do it faster, have more people and more farmers. We are also working on that. As I said, we have now already signed contract with big organizations to plant trees and do tree work for them. Other big companies are in the pipeline that we are going to work on, and we have many now coming in. We are getting grants from governmental things to support us in different ways, just because we are doing the right way. That means we are doing agroforestry plantation with farmers. That is the key to the whole issue today. So I'm very happy that we came to that conclusion some years ago, and that we're going to prove to you is going to be the best way to do it. So that's my little input on the Dokolo and what we are doing there. But that Dokolo is just a start going north in Uganda.
Okay, thank you. But my understanding is that Dutch Green has gone through this process of actually finding these 3 million trees for doing the job. Even if it was difficult, it was done by Dutch Green. Is that correct?
No, it's not correct. It's a paper validation. So actually we have it's a mix about that we have as a company been in Uganda and checked some of the farmers, and a validation between BDO which have worked with and have a big, what do you call it, which have a big trust in Better Globe Forestry since the beginning. When we started the evaluation of Better Globe Forestry, we contracted BDO in Southeast Africa, and they already had a big trust in Better Globe Forestry, because Better Globe Forestry is a big company in East Africa, or a well-known company in East Africa. And we asked them if do you think it's necessary with what we call forensic accounting, or do we need or can we do a cheaper way of accounting? And both BDO said that well, we think it's appropriate at this time to do the cheaper one. And also when we were talking to Dutch Green, every question that they asked made them very confident in having validation without doing the forensic part, where the forensic part is to count each and every tree. So I just want to collaborate. So I'm quite confident in that validation. What TPS does now is, for example, when we were there in January, we went there and we brought an auditor from BDO in Uganda. The auditor in Uganda were pointing at a couple of different farmers to visit, and together with the auditor, we visited those farmers to check, are the accountings between what we see on the farm the same as we see in the accounting of Better Globe Forestry? And I can't, I wouldn't say that the discrepancies are that big. So it's well, I would see approximately the same. The next step, when we do this developing with securities to the finance market, that will include that the finance market will ask us about those kind of forensic accounting. So then we actually have to go for some of the companies, we actually have to go there either to count the trees by hand or by drones. So that's one of the plans of developing with counting the trees in a forensic way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So
Okay.
I think those I actually appreciate those questions, because they are healthy questions. All of those questions we also had, and we actually had both 1.5 or 2 years ago, and I'm glad to hear that all of you have them too, because it's important to have trust in what you invest in. And for me, it's important to hear you having those questions. I don't. I assume they are from good faith, but it's good to hear them because then we can develop our business model and make better ways to communicate. So I hear you in the ways of the photos and so on, and we try to deliver better photos in the future.
Jacob,
Yes.
just be sure that 100% my questions are in good faith. I
Yeah.
just want to know. I believe this thing that says trust but verify. That's all. So that's why. Now, I don't know if other people have questions. I want to change the subject if I can and if we have time.
Yeah, I have time. I'll let Camilla decide.
Yeah, we have a few more questions before that, so maybe you can take it later. Okay. Originally, the info was we buy monthly trees package. After 4 years later, we would start to get income. Is that still so? I think maybe this is answered. Anyone say?
I can say no. If you have, I would say no. It's not still the same. If you have shifted to shares, you will get dividend when the TPS are profitable. If you are still in the old certificates, you won't get anything until the trees are felled. And I will make sure that you don't get anything until the trees are felled either, because I have obligations towards Better Globe Forestry, and Better Globe Forestry has obligations to TPS. So both it's important for TPS that they won't pay out anything until the trees are felled, because that will influence that will be that will influence it for the whole business.
Yes. Some questions. Does growing at a faster rate necessarily imply taking one more risk and becoming over leveraged?
No, I would say it's the other way around. The biggest risk TPS can take at this moment is not doing anything, not plant any more trees, and not developing the business. If we do that, it will cost, and we will have to trust. Well, I trust in Better Globe Forestry, but if we don't buy any more trees from Better Globe Forestry, they have to bring in money from other ways, and then it's becoming a bigger risk for TPS investment. So for TPS, it's actually a lower risk if we can finance more planting, but of course more planting is good for managing our trees also. The other way is that if we sell trees earlier, then we sell the risk to the finance market, because today we have a risk of trees are felled by the farmers or burnt down in the forest, well, burned or something. If we sell those as a security, it's the finance market that take over some of the risk. So therefore, it's better for TPS and a lower risk for the shareholders with a new business model from TPS. At the same time, when we in that case bring in more money to plant more trees, we actually have making a diversification, so we can plant more trees, and then it's becoming a lower risk because of more trees with not that more cost. I don't know if I'm making me understood, but I hope so.
Yes. Okay, one more. If I bought trees 15 years ago and the dividends are due now, when will these dividends be paid? Will it be in 2033?
I would say the dividends will be paid when everyone gets dividends in TPS. So if you shift it to shares in TPS, it will be paid when TPS will pay out dividends. We hope to pay out dividends in 2026, but that depends on the finance market.
Yes. I purchased trees while living in Europe and now I reside in Australia. Unfortunately, I was unable to convert my trees into shares during the initial round, resulting in fewer shares being issued to me now. Given these circumstances, shouldn't there be a uniform policy allowing everyone to convert their trees into shares simultaneously, ensuring fairness for all participants? I can say something there because this is from Christos. Christos, we have changed your citizenship to Cyprus, so you will not lose any shares. You will get your 10 shares.
Yeah, I can deliberate about that. If that the problematic thing about Australia and New Zealand, USA, Japan, Hong Kong, South Africa is that there's so many regulations that make it almost impossible for Swedish companies to have shareholders in those countries. So we actually work with different kinds of solutions to be able to have that through insurance company and so on later on. And if you are a member of those countries, we will and you have pre-registered for the first emission. We have an obligation towards Better Globe that we have registered that at 10 shares, and we try to give you the same opportunity later on. So we have that opportunity, but if it's just that you have moved from one country to another and you still have a citizenship in, for example, Cyprus or Norway or Sweden or something, you can register for shares at your citizenship in those countries instead. So then you can join the issuance in this issuance for 8 shares or later on.
Yes. Christos, you can unmute if you have a question.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for the clarifications. Yes, I do still hold European citizenship, so it might be a good path to find a more quicker solution. But yeah, thanks for that. And it's all in good faith, trying to understand remotely how everything works. So I do appreciate all the help and all the clarifications here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. One more. Is it possible to sell shares directly to TPS?
I would say not at this moment. I would say if you ask me in maybe 1 year, I would have a solution for you, but not at this moment because that's we have to prioritize our capital to be able to develop the company. We have an investment company, and I would say in 1 year or maybe a bit after that, we would be able to buy your shares if you want to.
Okay. When you talked about the NVR, did you mean that we can't see the stocks at VPZ anymore, that they are on NVR instead? Should we have received an email invitation from NVR?
Oh, it's actually the same company. They just have this product that they call VPC, and they will reframe it So it just it will you will just see the website of NVR in the future. If you already have an existing account, it won't be any different.
Yes. Okay. Next, will ambassadors be informed that next share signature emails are sent out so we can follow up on the few ones that has not yet signed?
Yes. This time we have learned a lot since last time. We will have we will announce before we will send out all the email. We will also have follow-ups both through Better Globe, but that because of the systems are not talking to each other, but take a little bit longer time. We try to do that we will try to do that every time during the next conversion, but there will be an update that we can share to all the ambassadors through the through a link that we will deliver through Better Globe and the Better Globe Facebook group for ambassadors. It will be you will just see AID accounts and if they are signed or not. So it will be it will be good through GDPR regulations and so on, but you will see it directly through that link. We will also have mails sending out to all the customers as soon as they are clarified for KYCs and so on, so everyone will know earlier if they have to send in some new information or anything.
Okay. One more. Are you planning to go to CO2 market?
Like this. We want to do things that helps the environment and our shareholders. So I would say our business model will be those FPV companies, special purpose vehicle, we call them, both security. But I think that when we sell those to, for example, a fund, the fund or the big company that buys those, they probably want the CO2 carbon credits. Then we will help them to bring in CO2 credits to those companies or those securities. But so I think that will be the way that we do it instead of selling own CO2 credits. If you understand the differences, because to go into the CO2 market, it's I wouldn't say it's not profitable, but it's a very long shot. It takes a lot of time before it's a lot of cost in the beginning, and it takes a couple of years before you get the revenues from that. It's our big investors are interested in that, and then we can help them. And when I say that, we want to help them with doing that, and when we are making those securities, the best way we can do that is to take an area, for example, in Dokolo, and just plant trees for this company or this fund in that area. And all the new trees that we plant in that area, we will sell to that fund in the future. And then we can help them create carbon credits in that area. And then those funds will get the revenues from those carbon credits. So I would say the revenue to TPS will be through helping them managing this development, not from bringing in money from the carbon credit themselves, I would say.
I can add on to that, Jacob, another aspect also, when you go into the CO2 market, if they go into the bigger companies like Jacob is talking about, then they want to have it certified. So they're looking into something called Vera certification or gold standard or other standards. So that takes a lot of work and time and money for the ones who want it. But of course, if the companies, I'm sure if they want to be certified and buy carbon credit that way, there's no way we cannot do it. We will do it in Better Globe Forestry, and then we have to deliver that to TPS also. We work with anyone who wants to be certified. We can make it, but like Jacob said, it takes time and it'll take money also.
Yeah, and it's I think it's for TPS it will be important for us to understand our investors or our customers, because some customers will they want the carbon credits, and other customers doesn't matter for them. So we just have to know about, do they want it in the future or not, because then we form the companies of the securities in different ways. We don't make a difference for the climate or the environment or so on by creating carbon credits. We make a difference for people in Africa and for the climate by planting trees. So our business model is to finance planting more trees. So that's the important thing, not to bring in carbon credits. That will be part of the things that we help our investors with in the future, I think, but I wouldn't say we will make that much money from it.
Yes. Last question. A small amount from every package or 3 goes to cover the Better Globe administration costs, as far as I know. Why should the shareholders pay even more for marketing packages, etc., and who covers the cost for TPS? I can answer some of it. Of course, something goes to administration costs. Every company needs to cover their administration costs, and we also work for the customers. And the amount, much of the amount goes to Better Globe Forestry, planting trees, and we also pay management fee to TPS. So
yeah, so all the money. All the money that goes through Better Globe crowdfunding and sponsorship package and donation package, the money divides, and everyone need a part to be able to have the company driving. Through that's not the big. That's not the big thing about in TPS financing. TPS will finance through other parts. The bigger parts will finance through other ways, I would say, both pro selling, pro maybe issuing later on in loans. There will always be cost to developing a company. But we have a couple of agreements between TPS and Better Globe Forestry and Better Globe, and we have different models with old trees and new planting trees. So for old trees, yeah, you as a customer to Better Globe, you have already paid the cost for those trees, and I think I would say that Better Globe will manage those costs, and TPS for every new tree, we will manage to make that plan work. So from now and forward, it's TPS that will pay for all the cost of the trees further on with our business model. I don't know if I made it easier to understand or harder. I hope it was easier.
Okay, then we have no more questions. Any more questions?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I wanted to ask about you mentioned, Jacob, about the potential loans for running costs, for development, for you explained that priority will be for the shareholders from crowdfunding if they want, not they have to, if they want to make such a loan.
Yeah.
Now, loans, as I understand it, before the initial IPO will decrease the value of our shares, right?
Yeah, because loans, when you are counting on the net worth, you have the worth of the trees and growing of the trees, and on the other part you have the loans. The net worth today is about 120 million euros, and it's raising about 400,000 euros a year, 40,000 euros a year. The loans what we have today is 0 in TPS. The loans that we want to bring in during this year.
Did you mean millions, or you said 40,000?
40 million euros every year.
Okay, all right.
Half a billion Swedish crowns. The loans that we want to bring into the TPS this year is about 1 million euros. So it's much less than the increase of the value of the network. So it wouldn't shift.
Affect the price a lot. It will be.
It would be less than 1% of the value.
All right, and that 1 million euro is on top of the 1.5 million from Better Globe Forestry liquidation. So we need 2.5 million.
No, don't mix up that one. Don't mix up that one. Better Globe Forestry is a totally different company. It has nothing to do with TPS when it comes to running. So whatever goes into Better Globe Forestry goes into Better Globe Forestry.
It's different. Okay, I see. Okay.
So the loans in TPS, it will go to developing the business model and TPS as a company. We will look at and discuss with Better Globe Forestry also, because we during our visit in Uganda and afterwards we talked about what's the most important thing to develop in Better Globe Forestry to be able to grow the business and also to maintain the trees with as good growth as possible, and also to be able to develop TPS business model. And we can see that there are some kind of in some cases it's better if we just plant more trees. In other cases it may be better if we help them with financing, for example drones or something to count the trees or to measure the trees and so on. And we will actually get we will have a continuous discussion together with Better Globe Forestry what's the best for the company, because if it's good for Better Globe Forestry, it's good for TPS.
Okay, and one last question on this subject. If You mentioned also about securities, yes?
Yeah.
So, bringing in loans and securities decreases, if I understand well, the value of our shares as we have them now, correct?
Both. So the loans,
Okay.
the loans we talked about, it's very low in comparison. By selling part of the trees through security to the finance, the effect of that is, well, it decreased the net worth of the trees, part of a net worth. But when we sell it, we actually sell it for much, much more than the net worth of that asset. That's the main purpose. If we sell a tree that's 3-year-old, for example, it's worth almost nothing in the net worth of a company. And we sell it with a price where we can plant at least 2 more trees and also pay dividends to our shareholders. So when we sell that security, we actually increase the net worth of a company.
I like that.
So do you understand what?
Yes, yes, I
So
understand.
it's the other way around. It's a bit mind blowing.
I understand.
When you count on it, and when you see the opportunities of it. So the big difference, I would say this would be the best business model of Better Globe Forestry, but they didn't have the opportunity to own all the trees. It was we had crowdfunded customers and now TPS that owns the trees, because it's much easier to sell existing trees to the finance market than promising on trees in the future. It's another risk. It's another network.
I understand. As long as I'm sure you realize that as long as we are not, by the movements we do, we are not moving the return on investment further and further, because you have people that bought in 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we need to keep in mind that whatever we do, we must try not to push the return on investment further and further away in time.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's one of the purpose of this business model, because we have listened, we understand, we are we also want return on investment in our investment in building TPS, and actually when we saw how many trees there were, how old they were, and so on, we saw that, okay, the return on investment would be in quite long term in the future, and how could we manage to shift it to be even earlier. So that's one of the way of why we wanted to shift to this business model also, because it's bringing it earlier dividend than we could have managed before. So that's one of the main purposes, and also to become an impact company. Because if we just hold the assets, we are like any forestry company. But if we make this change, we both are able to get dividends earlier, and we'll also bring something better to the world, and that even we hope that will increase the value of a share too, both by giving out dividends earlier and being a company that's an impact company. So we think this business model also will have a positive effect on the market value of a share in the future.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Camilla, do we have any more questions?
You are muted, Camilla.
A lot of investors, package buyers, has paid a lot of money over many years now, and we of course want to have some benefit from these investments soon. But there is always coming excuses and changes in the business model. How long should this continue?
Well,
Oh.
I can step in first. I'm sure Jacob wants to say something too, but the whole issue is that we have not changed the business model often. We have done it once. We had a business model that was working for 15, 16 years, and we paid out more than 14 million euros about that business model. When I saw that it will not happen after, I think it was 5 years ahead, then I start planning something that would be substantially better. And that is the only business model we have changed. We have not changed anything else, but Better Globe have only changed once, and TPS has not changed at all. They are just getting better every day. So I don't think this has been any changes or excuses or anything. We have had a business model. We told everybody that that's what's going to happen. And yes, not everybody necessarily liked it, but it was a better deal, and it was the only way we could make really benefit out of the values we had in the trees that we had secured. So because we could not work it the way it was, there was many reasons for that, and we have told them so many times. I'm not going to repeat it now, but that is the only change once that Better Globe has done, and TPS was the solution, and I think that has gone very well so far. Taken a bit longer time than expected, which all businesses do, but apart from that, I think we are on a good ground. One have not promised too much different than what we have done once.
Yes.
I would say I'm also an investor in Better Globe from the beginning, and that's why we started TPS, both to secure our assets and also to see that when we made that we could do this development, and we got the opportunity because, as Rino said, they wanted to make this shift in the business model, and then we as founders of TPS came with a slightly different opportunity. So actually, it's the idea of shifting to shares was Reno and Better Globe from the beginning. They wanted to do that in one way. We asked them, could we do it in this way instead? Because then we can do all those things with the finance markets. And then they saw that would probably be a better opportunity for all the investors. So as Reno said, that the Globe has yet made one shift, and that was to get the opportunity to all the shareholders or all the investors by bringing it into TPS, and it's actually now, after we made this first conversion, when we brought in the asset into the company of TPS, that we can work with it. Unfortunately, it took a little bit longer than we had anticipated and hoped for, but I think it will be a good way for in coming years.
Yes, and I also want to say that actually we had already a company in Norway that was supposed to do the things about shares, but it was the best way to do this with Jacob and TPS. So we wouldn't mix anything. So not the same people that are the owners or the workers in Better Globe had the same company for the shares. So now we are totally separated.
I think
Yes,
we have come, I think we have
no
come
more
to the
questions.
end.
Yeah, we are on the end now. I think we should close down the Zoom meeting now. It's been 2 hours and late for some people, I think.
Yeah.
So we will thank you.
Let me also thank Jacob, Darwin, and Camilla for participating and helping us with these things. I hope that everybody has got their things answered. And still, if you have any other questions, just send it to support, and you will get an answer. And we will work harder a year to support everything that we have promised, and we will definitely try to over deliver. And with the TPS help and the good work they are doing, I believe we will in the end. So, and I'm very happy that we have come so far, and I'm looking very much forward to the future. So thank you everybody for being the support for us all these years, and let's stick together in the years to come also. We will see a lot to each other, I think so. So thank you very much, and good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you and good night.
Good night all.